Hey, it's Chris. Crowdfunding Roundup. Post Gen Con. In between news videos. That's right. He is going into part 2 tomorrow. You're going to want to tune in and hear about that one because, boom, you'll like it. I promise. So, what's new on crowdfunding this week? Where are things at? What do you need to know? First week of August. No opening rant. Let's do it. Hey, what's going on in our Gamefound? Where are all those ones that just launched this week? Oh, I don't know because we have this one launching in 40 days, this one launching in 12 days. Oh, this one's running live. Oh, didn't just launch though. I covered that week previously. Oh, Puerto Rico. Oh, no, that's 35 days away. Oh, but then, okay, finally, we've got one that launched this week right here, and you can see one, right? Like, Gamefound. I know you like showing off the big ones, but show off the ones that are currently raising you money, not just the ones that you think are going to raise you the most money later on. Side rant over. Speaking of that, though, let's just go straight to that one, right? The Cats of Michel. And Raybox Games, $150,000, 1,300 people in, right? If you're watching this, you missed out on the 48-hour early bird, right? Solo co-op, quick setup. Let's go through this, right? Campaign mode, compact play area, streamlined, award-winning, paths unknown system. Okay. We're going to digest this. I'm going to tell you how this game plays. Not just kidding. I can't tell you how this game plays because there's not really a whole lot of actual gameplay information on the page unless you want to watch a preview video or unless you click on the rule book. Otherwise, you're going to get generic descriptions more than anything else. It says it's innovative. It says it's a scenario-based, chapter-driven dungeon crawl, if you will, with a straight-up D12 rolling event-style, attack-style system, if you like that. So you also need to be playing with 4 cats. Each of your 4 cats gets 2 actions. But if you only play with 2 cats and make it super hard mode, you get 3 actions each. But otherwise, right? Controlling 4 characters in a game. And they say there are dozens, this is a quote, dozens of scenarios available to you. But don't worry because each of those scenarios has chapters, right? That sounds like a lot. That sounds like a lot of content. That sounds like a lot to go through. And I have no clue if you can actually get through that in a spiral-bound Jaws of the Lion style of things with your character, with the equipment that you can gather, with the loot that you're slowly pursing through and trying to pick up from the various areas. Now, the terrain is relatively straightforward. It's marked by reds, yellows, and greens, and so you can kind of tell your line of sight in those aspects. The D12 mechanism as you're going is what they're going to be utilizing, rolling X number of D12s for a lot of your events, results, or attacks even. Book of Adventures, your 9 different characters, and your standees. But again, like, that's the issue. Again, social media, stretch goals, don't care. Price point is fine. It's $50. So, okay, makes sense. 58 if you want to get a little bit of the extra accessories. But like I said, right, you're trying to figure out what's actually going on in this page. And again, it says right here, right? Scenario broken into chapters, each with escalating challenges. Dozens of scenarios. Whoops, shouldn't have clicked on that. But that's what you're getting. Branching narrative, actions, and your movements. There's 10 different actions, all of them costing 1 AP point of the 3 or 4, depending on how many your player count is. The D12 system, ranging in line of sight. That's intuitive, they say. And then your skills and your investigate and search. And they're telling me that it's all unique and innovative. And I guess I just didn't see it when I was reading through the rulebook. I mean, it seems like a lot of stuff we've seen before in a lot of other games. And yeah, it totally gives me Mice of Mystics or Stuffed Fables vibes. Totally does. And I think that's probably a very apt comparison. I don't think you need to be doing something innovative, but if you do something innovative, I want to see it shouted from the rooftops as well. And that's kind of my conundrum because, again, I just ran you through the whole page right there and you didn't really see how it was actually playing. You didn't see that you're getting 2 characters or 4 characters or 3 or 4 action points per turn. You didn't see any of those 10 different actions that are going to be available to you. You didn't see how you're going to be attacking actually, or how the instigating and searching or the skill upgrades or the events in between are going to be dependent on what you roll. You didn't see any of that on the page. And so that's why I'm going, okay, that's fine and all, but where is all that stuff? So you can get it, I guess, from a preview video and a rule book if you want. But I mean, $150,000 is still $150,000. So give it a look-see. Then we're talking about No Escape Dead Man's Tale. $125,000, right, Chris? That will surely have more information on the page about what this is and why this escape puzzle room style-esque game with 5 different scenarios / chapters that you're slowly going to be progressing through is all about, right? No, I'm sorry. It's a puzzle game, folks. They're not going to give you anything information-wise. If you want to get spoilers in 3, 2, One, I gave you time to turn away. This is the rulebook example, and all it does is tell you that, well, there's going to be an audio component in the first one and 30 large format antique treasure map situations. It's a pop-up. You just pop it up and it's pre-assembled. First location is a captain's desk on board the wreck of the doomed ship, and you just get all the mysteries. That's pretty much it. They give you slight descriptions on 2, 3, 4, and 5 there, but that's literally everything spoiler-wise. That's literally everything spoiler-wise that's on the page. Apart from that, that's what I clicked on to see more there, right? How to play. They don't give you anything more detailed or more concrete than that. And it's going to cost you $50 to figure out whether or not this is right for you. And by the time you're looking at it, the $46 early bird is going to be gone. So if you want to deluxify it and get some prologue and epilogue content, you can pay nearly twice the price for that, which I would hope is almost twice the gameplay. But I don't know. You want a collector's coin too? Go for it. You want to put this in a wooden box? Fantastic. You can pay 3 times the, deluxe tier. So again, this is a popular thing. People love this murder mystery style things. You can get some of their old products too, and they've got a little brand new content as well down here for a little exclusive one-time off stories and a card game to go along with it. So you know what? This is a huge thing in the hobby, especially at the retail side of things. So I'm not surprised it does gangbusters on crowdfunding. Again, I just kind of, look at it and go, I would be super happy to play this if someone else brought it to game night. For me personally speaking. So there you go. So You've Been Cursed, $45,000. Scott Alms coming back with the So You've Been. So it's a second edition. Just kidding. It's a second, one in the series, if you will. And the difference here is that it's going to be a sandbox-esque board that you're going to be controlling one token no matter which player character you are, either the wizard or the monster. And the wizard and the monster are each going to have a certain number of action points that are going to be allocated to them. The wizard is going to have 3 different actions that they can take on their turn. The monster is only going to have 3 different action points that they can utilize to eat stuff and move. So you're going to have to dynamically figure out how strategic you want to be, because where the character is when the other person finished is where that character starts for you, because it's the same character. Because the wizard is trying to, brew the cure so that the monster doesn't take over. The monster is trying to eat enough to basically turn into a super monster, if you will. And you can play it at a 0-player count or a 1-player count or a 2-player count. 2-player, obviously head to head. 1-player, you can choose either side and go against the AI. And I guess 0-player, you can have the AI play itself. So, right. Collector's Edition is going to give you tons of deluxifications. I mean, I love the idea of an asymmetric game like this with a sandbox open world map here that you're going to be trying to explore. And the wizard can essentially go as far as he needs as long as he has the resources to travel that far. But the monster can only move so far each turn. So they're going to have to optimize and eat things as they go along. And you're going to be managing like the cure and the potions and the ingredients and the money that needed for all that stuff. And then you're on the other side, you're just going to eat stuff and eat stuff and eat stuff. And so first one to reach the last part of their track wins. So the only question I have is, to get all this deluxification with the premium edition and then the super premium edition, with the premium edition and then the super premium or collector's edition as they're calling it here, right? Like, I just need to know that I love this game, right? Like, I think these look cool. Acrylic, double-sided, screen-printed, tokens and guards and things like that. That looks cool. But until I know I absolutely freaking love this game, I have a hard time paying. What is this price point right here for this one? Oh, it doesn't even tell you on the graphic. You actually have to go over here on the side. So, right, $39 for the premium, $29 for the basic, and $49 for the collector. So that's not terrible for what it is. But I would imagine if this is $29 on crowdfunding, plus whatever shipping is going to cost me as well, which if we scroll down here, international availability, whatever. Shipping, let's guess $15 right now off the top of my head, right? So $45. If you're selling the basic version for $29 on crowdfunding, I'm going to imagine that it's closer to $20 at a retail side of things, which means 20 versus 45. That's not insignificant, but you support the publishers you want. But again, that's going to be more costs, FOMO savings at the higher levels. That'd be the reason you get it. But again, I don't know if you love it. I don't know if I love it. And you can check out the rules. The rules are there. I went over some of the stuff. It gives you the breakdown of all 3 different types. There's enough preview videos, that you can get some maybe vague semblance of impressions. But again, I'd read the rule book more than anything else. And it looks like a bunch of stores overseas are picking it up. So if you're elsewhere, you're probably just better off getting it from the stores. Or maybe not. I don't really know. Sometimes maybe it is. Sometimes maybe it's not. I mean, I think this one's actually going to get added to my wish list as I'll watch and wait and see. And I'd love to try out. But I just don't know price-wise for me personally right now. So I'm going to have to give it a harder look and watch a little bit more gameplay over on the Board Game Geek after filming this. Then we're going dungeon shuffle, shuffle dungeons. And it's a cooperative game of dungeon crawling, only with tiles that masquerade both as your hand as well as the equipment that you need, but also the path to the boss as you cooperatively make your way to the boss after setup. And so what I mean by that is you have these tiles that you're going to be taking and you set it up so that there's a row or like a column or whatever between you, your player character's tile, and the boss's tile. But then whichever one you place it on, essentially, you gather all the other tiles that are between you and the boss. And then you're going to slowly be creating, through the use of the ones that are in your hand, your map in order to get to the other players, as well as towards the boss in order to defeat the boss at the end. And you'll be drawing other additional tiles along the way and placing them down, especially if they're monsters that are going to get in your way in this limited action, but still giving you variability in what you're actually putting down style of game. Again, hero cards, 8 asymmetric hero cards, your dungeon styles. So again, what you get in this? So what are you getting in this game? 8 hero cards, 10 boss cards, and 86 dungeon cards with your nice hero tokens that are very pretty. And well, of course, you know, you got to have a rule book. They're going to give you a rule book in this one, so don't fret in case you were worried that they weren't going to give you a rule book and they were going to go all, you know, make you learn it via video. That, you know. Anyway, sorry, side tangent, squirrel. Here's what I was talking about though. Player setup, the explore, the building of those dungeon cards, the equipment, because on the other side of the cards because again on the other side of the cards is equipment or snack that's going to allow you to do things, and then the attacking as you're utilizing a cooperative dice rolling to defeat the enemies, and finally the boss. So it's just something light and different. It's $29, and if you want to pay $63, you can get their other 2 games to go along with it. Again, $90 for the playmat and custom dice. So, whew, that's a bit much, but go for it, I guess. I mean, those better be some nice dice. So, there you go. That is Shuffling Dungeons, Dungeon Shuffling, whatever you want to call it, but it's called Shuffle Dungeons. There you go. Next up, Dungeon Twister 20th Anniversary Edition, right? Like, I'm super interested in this because this gives me super serious, super heavy Wiz War 8th Edition vibes, if you will. I just got, if you missed it in the other video, my Malefic Curses order on eBay. It came in the mail today, the day I'm filming this, and then I opened it up and it was Bestial Forces, and I was super pissed. And then I opened up my email because I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't believe I got bait and switched. And then the guy is like, hey, sorry, I was actually selling them both and I got the boxes mixed up. He's like, will you send it back to me? And I was like, yeah, I'll send it back to you, but I'm not sending it back to you until I get the copy of my game that I bought. Because then I'm sitting there going, if I send this back to him, because like this is through the message system on eBay, right? I don't have any proof that I sent it back to him, and then I could be screwed out of my money and the game. So I'm like, hey, you have to send this to me before I'm even sending this back to you. And he's like, yeah, I'll cover postage and everything. But I'm like, makes me uneasy. I'll let you know how this goes in the update on this, but it makes me just feel trepidatious. And I did a little bit of my due diligence. The person I bought it from has like a 1,500 rating on eBay. So, you know, it's not like they're a first time seller or something. So I'm not like super worried, but like, man, you mixed up 2 boxes that were sold almost a week apart. Making me nervous. Anyway, Dungeon Twister 20th Anniversary Edition. This game screams it doesn't need miniatures, and the only reason it's on crowdfunding is to get the miniatures. And so part of me, again, hopes it's more like the 8th edition of Wiz War, where you just give me the standees later on, because that's really what you're paying in this. And I would love just standees as a non-painter, plastic chunks person. So it's just straightforward, right? You have 8 different asymmetric heroes that you're going to be playing 4 at a time of. You have 4 different cards that you're going to be utilizing from your hand, ranging from 2, 3, 4, or 5 different action points that you can take on a turn-by-turn basis of the various actions that you can be utilizing. You're moving, you're attacking, you're revealing the dungeon tiles right there, you're twisting them around, or your asymmetric abilities for your characters, including, well, but also separately, attacking your opponent. And it's just last one standing. The issue that I kind of have, though, is for this price point, which is like almost $70, it's a 2-player game, right? And that's the miniature-driven price cost increase that you're paying for, essentially. Love the new artwork. Colored bases are great. Enlarged tiles, fantastic. You know, it gets away from the Cthulhu Death May Die thing. But you want to play it with 3 or 4 people? Well, there's an expansion for that. You want to get anything more cool like Paladins and Dragons? Well, there's an expansion for that. You're really paying for just the core, and I don't know if the core is actually going to be worth it from that aspect of things. It's going to have enough variability for me, because if you also look at those numbers, right, you're using all 16 of those heroes. There will be no variability. There will be no mixing and matching or ones that are unused. So you really have to get one of the expansions in order to do that. And now, if you want to pay extra, you can get miniatures that will give you complete duplicates for this set, because again, if you play with a 3 and 4 player expansion, you're not going to be able to use duplicates. You're going to have to use them all uniquely individually. So if one player wants the super duper one on this guy, and then the other team wants the super duper this guy, you can't use it unless you get the extra one to go along with it. And if you want everything, a solo mode, an extra expansion to go along with the other 2 that you're already getting, and a playmat, which are all exclusive, look at that, they're all exclusive. You can do that in addition. Again, this game has, Liege Games Chaos Chris written all over it, but I kind of don't like the aspect of things that the non-Awakened Realms approach is taking here, where, I give kudos to Awakened Realms because they split out the gameplay content with the miniatures being separate, and there is no separation of church and state in this case, and I'm paying for miniatures that I'm not super enthralled by. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I think I really like this game and I kind of want it now, but $77 for it when I look at this, and this should be like 40 or 45, and I go, that's almost 100% cost increase because of the miniatures most likely, and 128 for a 3 to 4 player game of this. Again, it's not about having the money, but it's about saying, is that how I want my money to be spent? And the honest answer is, as someone who's still not 100% sure, probably not. You're going to get some goals. You're going to get some unlocks. They give you upgrades. If you have the first editions of Dungeon Twister around here, they give you compatibility packs to upgrade your stuff. So that's kind of cool though. And I like seeing that, but individual expansion right there, that extra one, 55 euros for that. That's a freaking metric ton. You just want the miniatures? Well, there's all the miniatures extra as well. So it is what it is, right? Go how to play that I talked to you about down here, empowering your healers, special abilities, collecting items. I mean, it's just Wiz War in a different manner, and I kind of love this game. So that's why I talked about it. So I'd love to be able to try this out. I would love it. This would be absolutely high on my wish list, but it's going to be still a wait and see, I think, strongly, just from those concerns. Sort of like Foundations of Rome, Foundations of Metropolis, more than anything else, right? Like, nothing negging about the gameplay mechanics, but you know what? I'm maybe going to wait for a less deluxified version. If I can't, well, you know what? I'll go play Wiz Wars. There you go. Then Team SMAK over here with SMAK the card game. It's a combination of Munchkin meets Uno, if you will. It's just first one to get all their cards out, and cards have some take that Uno-esque features where there's either the color in the background or the number of creatures on the card itself. But then the unicorns have special asymmetric powers that like do some take that when you're laying them down, but you can pile them on top of each other, or you can play one of like the rainbow cards that are SMAKs, to sort of mitigate them in the first place, and you just go take that until somebody eventually runs out of cards. There's an expansion to go along with it, and you can get some shiny unicorn dice if you like that as well, with a little special unicorn horn there. $20 core game pledge. That's all you need to know. $25 with the extras. So what you see is what you get. You want unicorns and unicorn themed game, card style driven wise? Well, there you go. Team SMAK it. Next up, Console Wars. Meta. Almost funded, $22 of $25,000. So basically, they're playing the meta game of the, consoles as the, competing consoles, trying to get their IPs and their audience grown the biggest and the best. The issue is, the only way you're going to actually know how this game plays is to watch the 4-minute how to play video, but I'm going to give you the quick, summary, if you will. So essentially what you have, as you can see in this picture here, you're going to be creating sets, and you need to have 4 of those IP sets done. And so you start out with like 5 cards in your hand, and every turn you draw 2 cards, you can play or have 3 actions of said playing cards in the first place, where they're going to be either action cards you could put in the discard pile, and you've got 2 parts in front of you, sort of your keepers and your tableau. And so you're going to be trying to create this set collection of 4 different ones completely fulfilled by the time the game ends. But there's also something I didn't really see in the how to play video as well, where you're putting like these sort of pandemic-esque style outbreak cards in the middle of the deck, like 3 different places. And I'm not sure, honestly, what those do, because it didn't really say in the video as far as I can remember. So you're building your fan base, you're releasing more games and getting those set collections with a heavy element of take that and, beat your opponent. So that's what you see is what you get, right? See right there, I was watching the video. That's where it is, right? And I actually, truth be told, we skipped down to here. I actually liked some of the t-shirts here. I actually wouldn't mind a Hangout or the Rest of Us t-shirt. So they actually have a thing that says Press Inquiry. So maybe, no, just kidding. But that's where it is. And so I would imagine that even the time while you're watching this, Console Wars is going to be funded. And I know there's some comments elsewhere. I saw those in the forums that were saying like, hey, some of these logos are really close to the actual coloring and appearance of some of the other real logos, which is going to bring up an interesting IP standpoint. standpoint if somebody's going to go after them, because I just also got linked to the other day right before looking at this one, like the Starbucks guy over in India used like the same exact logo, the same exact coloring, but it was his face and his name, and like Starbucks actually lost that lawsuit. So I don't know if that would be a similar thing with a parody IP situation here, but take that for what you will. Then Chicago 68, $19,000, their $6,800 funding goal. This is more like your Twilight Struggle or Watergate style of things, only it's Chicago 68, the delegation and the protesters, where you're either Mayor Daley and his corrupt police force, or you're the protesters and you're counter protesting, trying to get your candidate elected instead of the vice president. And so if you're the counter protesters, you only need one of the two objectives met. Either you need to manipulate the votes enough and the delegates enough in order to get your candidate selected, or you can get the public crowd on your side. If you're the other side of things, the mayor and the cops, you not only need to get your delegate selected, but you need to get the law and order of the city represented and focused into where it needs to be as well. So a 1 versus 2 asymmetric, you're going to be manipulating the cubes of the delegates along the way, and you're going to be taking 3 different actions on a turn-by-turn basis, back and forth style, but you're going to have 2 different ways of utilizing those different actions, because you're going to have your main generic actions, you're also going to have your rank and file, as they're both called on either side of things, and you're going to be playing heavy action card driven gameplay, as I mentioned with the other 2 gives heavy vibes of in the first place, right? Historically based, they're really emphasizing that. They're really playing off of that, using some, just graphically representative art as well. And it is what it is. So if you like this sort of thing, I mean, it seems like it's solid. How does it compare? Is it going to be as good? Can it be as good? I don't know. The only thing you have to be aware of is, I mean, this is super indie, and it's, $68 for a card driven aspect of gameplay with this. So is that for you? If you want to fund them and help them, get further, they're already 3 times their funding goal. So let's see if we can go times 4. There you go. Chicago 68. So Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere RPG. I just want to mention this because it's got $6 million, right? If you're not familiar with Sanderson, I mean, basically anything he puts his name on nowadays just gets money thrown at it. And this is basically an RPG of all of his properties, because he said all of his properties are in sort of the same multi-universe situation, if you will, but they're all just like different areas or aspects. And so this one just gives you a little bit of everything. I am most familiar with Stormlight. I actually never read Mistborn or Elantris or World Hopper. So, I'm in the middle of the series. I'm not even caught up, but it's basically throwing a bunch of money with his universe that people already love. And if you want minis to go along with it, they're going to give you that as well. So again, just like board games, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say that you can have too many board games, but you can also have too many RPGs. So that's just a question of 1, are you a super big fan? And 2, is this actually going to hit the play table side of things? Because again, whatever the price is, right? I don't care. You don't care. You're either going to get it as a big fanboy, because the interesting thing about this is that they say this is going to expand lore and canon, which you don't always see with RPGs. They often stay within the bounds, but this is doing that. So that's kind of cool in the first place. And I wish maybe other properties were willing to do that. So I thought I'd at least mention it. Then Magic Jungle, the board game, I'm going to mention it because, again, it's $2,400. $2,400 more than I've ever raised on crowdfunding, but it's a very straightforward roll and move. You're basically going across these paths. There's 4 different types of spaces you're gonna be landing on. You're rolling a die to see which one you land on. You're doing some take that if you land on the same space as someone else, and you both roll dice to see who wins. And you've got like artifacts and events and monsters that will pop up. So there you go, right? The power, the element, and the damage it does to an opponent if it gets pulled. So you just go along until someone gets to the end first. And that is the pledge level, the pricing of it as a whole. By the way, like, no, it's not my computer. No, it's not anything dealing with me. The font is truly this small on this page. Like, I am literally looking at my laptop right now, and I cannot read this without like basically getting about 3 inches away from this. And that's partially because I'm getting older, but also the font is truly that small and not easy to read. Like, okay, look at this font. This font's fine. This font, not so much. If you want to get the base pledge here, it looks like it's about $55. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look at this, 1 copy of 25% off, you save $20, includes all the stretch goals. 1 copy for 25% off, you save $30, includes all stretch goals. But they don't actually tell you the difference between, $120 Canadian and $78 or $75 Canadian there. So, I mean, you must have it on the page right here of the pledge overview that I'm staring at here. But like, you also don't tell me on the side. That's kind of weird. Anyway, so take that for what you will. Again, there you go. We'll see if it gets there, but it's about a third of the way there right now, and that's Magic Jungle. Sending Fate, I'm going to mention this one. I don't even know when this launched, but it's a skirmish game over on Gamefound. $71,000, which again, skirmish game going for $32,000. So it's funded, sci-fi skirmish based, and you get to pick your faction and go. So I don't even know the price point, but it's gonna be expensive because it's miniature driven. So $71, $71 euros. Okay, 71 euros. Ooh, even more. So why are you backing? Get some extra content here, stretch goals to enrich things, gameplay, tactically heavy based, but $120 to get in on it. And so that's my issue with a lot of these skirmish games, right? Like I worry that some of these skirmish games aren't going to be well supported. I mean, we have ones that have heavy IP use, see Star Wars Legion, that has trouble being supported for long periods of time. So if stuff like that has trouble at retail, I worry about stuff like this on crowdfunding, but I at least wanted to mention it because it's going live over on Gamefound as well. Then The Adventure, the board game table by Wooden Castle. Again, like these things never fail to fund on crowdfunding, but my issue is always that I'm a furniture person, as I've said previously in the past videos when I've covered other tables, in the sense that I want to actually feel it, see it, test it, sit at it, and know that it's actually going to be comfortable, or know that I have the right size chairs to go around it, or know that it's going to fit exactly the proportions of my room in the first place. And I look at this and I go, I can't tell the quality of this compared to the other ones out there in the first place. And if I can't tell, especially if I'm looking at spending anywhere close to $2,000, because let's be frank, this is like before tax, I'm sure. And then, the shipping is going to be whatever else extra. And that's going to be a ton of money. And if I'm going to spend that much, I want to have hands-on experience with it, not going off of pictures online, personally speaking, when I do furniture, right? We don't care what it is, but if you've ever couch shopped, same thing, right? The couch that looks comfy versus if you actually then go sit on it, those two things are not anywhere always close to the same. And so that's be my fear in a different sense, in the same sense, if that makes sense. Boom! With a table here. So take that for what you will. They'll even allow you to buy a first player marker for your table. Haha, and chairs. But again, like, okay, right? Buying chairs, that's even more of a gamble, I'd feel like, but that doesn't stop people from doing it. So it's got 57 grand. Check it out. So I wasn't kidding, right? We have Gen Con Part 2. I am also going to be a little bit worked up on the beginning of that video too tomorrow. So if you want, tune in, right? It's gonna be a good video. It's gonna be a very good video. So you'll like it. Just put it that way. Anyway, that's all I got. I hope that was interesting. I hope you're not working all weekend like I am, and dealing with all sorts of stuff, and again, behind end reviews. So I guarantee there will be at least 2 reviews coming out this upcoming week. If you're on my Patreon, you'd already know what those reviews are, because I think I said about them last weekend, what they were going to be. So yeah, only one out this week because there were going to be 2, but I had to get out, the July hype video was already like July and it's already August. And so I was just behind. Same thing with the retail. So those had to get out. And you know what? Again, working on like about 5 or 6 videos at the same time, between reviews, commentaries, roundups, everything else in between news wise. So it's just fun. And if you're not having fun, what are you doing? Again, side note here, like I just got an email from YouTube today. Like I don't look at this stuff personally, but like YouTube sends you occasionally, and I kind of look at them. I have to delete them before I even look at them sometimes. But it was like, you had 89,000 almost views in the last month. I'm like, okay, that's ish good for me. I think about 100,000 is what I would consider really good right now. So it's about like, not my highest, not nearly anywhere near my lowest by any means, like recently. So I think it's pretty good. But then the weird thing is, and this is why I don't get YouTube algorithms, but I guess what that really tells me at the same time is something else, that 200 subscribers joined, right? Like over a month. So in that 89,000 views, 674,000 hours watched. So you guys are really watching. So those of you that love me, essentially, is what this tells me, right? Those of you that love me really love me. We just got to get more people loving me, right? Ha! I was joking about starting another channel this past week or last weekend, but part of me is tempted, right? Like I've got other, I just want to talk about social commentary sometimes, or talk about wrestling, or talking about whatever else, right? With this whole other, YouTube thing that's going on, like the Mr. Beast situation. Oh boy! Talk about spiciness right there, right? I'm not going to get into that on this video. I'm not going to talk about that. I don't even know you guys watched the wrestling commentary on the other video from earlier in the week. I talked about it. It was fun. Was that the Gen Con video? I think that was the Gen Con video where I talked about a bunch of wrestling at the end of it. Anyway, I don't know. I'm done. Peace out. Stay classy. Have a great, freaking, fantastic weekend. See ya.